Hi, in today's video I'm going to show you the easiest and quickest way to layer vinyl. No more time-consuming registration marks or wasting time in vinyl redoing something that doesn't line up correctly. I'm going to cover some different layering scenarios in this video that you might be faced with. They get trickier as the video progresses, and make sure you watch to the end to find out my secret weapon in layering, besides the ever-useful parchment paper, of course. The first example I'm going to walk you through is one where you're not necessarily layering on top of each other, but where you need to line up two pieces of vinyl. So what you need are your vinyl, cut and beaded, you need some parchment paper, and you need your transfer tape. And what you want to do is make sure your transfer tape is cut large enough to cover your entire design when it's complete. So my entire design is going to be no bigger than this because this is going in the center, so it's big enough to cover that. And then I'm just going to line this up. And I'm going to burnish the front. Flip it over, burnish the back. And a great tip is when you're peeling your transfer tape away from your vinyl, instead of doing it this way, it's best to always do it this way. You have less of a chance of your vinyl coming away from your transfer tape. Okay, so I have part of my design on my transfer tape. Now what I want to do is get this piece lined up in there. So normally you would do this, then you're trying to hover and parts of it are falling down and sticking to the mat. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper down just so I have this to work with so this doesn't fall down and stick to the mat. Then I'm going to take my vinyl that's on the transfer tape and I'm just going to put it on top of my parchment paper, another piece, and I'm going to let a little bit hang over the edge. So then I take the one I want to line up and I put it down on top of it, and as you can see, so just don't put the side that's hanging over, don't put that down yet, but you can see you can move this all around, it doesn't stick to anything. And it's super easy to see through. So I'm going to line that up and it looks good to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to rub it down. I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to remove this parchment paper. And then I'm going to rub the design down. I'm going to burnish it on the front, and again, I'm going to burnish it on the back. And again, my trick, you pull the backing of the transfer tape away from your vinyl. And there you have it. It's lined up. It didn't get stuck to itself or anything else, and it's ready to be put on. So that was pretty easy. So what I'm going to walk you through next is how to actually layer the vinyl on top of itself using the same method. So I have these three pieces for this cute little skull girl, and what I want to do is I want to take my bottom layer, middle layer, and top layer. So one of the confusing things about when you're layering vinyl is you need to know which order to start in. So you basically start backward. So you would start at the top first. So the bow is the first thing that I'm going to put on my transfer tape, and then the white portion and the outline black portion. And again, I'm going to have a piece of transfer tape, and it needs to cover the design when it's complete. So the biggest portion of this design, and when it's complete, will be this. So it covers that, so I'm all set there. And then the next thing you want to keep in mind is I don't want to start by putting this bow right in the center, because then the rest of my skull will be hanging off my transfer tape. So you kind of want to get a sense of where this bow is going to go in the overall scheme of the design. So it goes there and my thing covers it. So it looks like I need to put it right around here. So I peel off my transfer tape. And again, I'm going to keep this parchment paper down to use it as my mat so I don't stick to anything. And even for this, since it is my first layer, but even in this instance, I think I'm going to use the parchment paper just so I can make sure I have this bow kind of lined up in the right area of where I want it to go. Sometimes you have layers and they're not that easy to line up in reverse order. So I'll show you what I mean next. Okay, so I have this little peach, and you know, if I follow the same logic that I have taken you through before, what you would do again is figure out which order it goes in. So obviously this is my bottom layer, and then I have the peach portion. But then my green leaf, they're kind of the same layer, right? They're on the same layer, but they're in different spots. So that's where it becomes complicated. That's where my secret weapon comes in. And my secret weapon is this transfer tape. It's Tech Wrap's matte transfer tape. And what I love about it is it picks up the vinyl so well. I mean, you've seen, I've been using it the whole time. But then what it does is it also releases the vinyl without pulling up the vinyl underneath it. So when I've tried to do that before, sometimes you just pull up and you get air bubbles. So what I'm going to do first is deal with my main two pieces, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to get this cute little green leaf on. So again, the same thing. We want to make sure our transfer tape is big enough to cover our whole design, and it is. And we want to start with the one on top, not the one on the bottom. Okay, so I have that portion layered. So now what I'm gonna do, and I can just set that there because it's not gonna stick to it, is this is my design. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this on my glass. And again, you can just use this parchment paper. I'm gonna line it up on here first, get it right where I want it, press down the overhanging, okay, so there's my cute peach, but I'm just missing the little leaf. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the leaf on my transfer tape. And I'm gonna use the parchment paper again because I still have to line this up. Okay, it's lined up. And then what I can do is I'm just gonna add this little piece right where it goes. And look how well that releases. I've dealt with other transfer tapes where it's tough and it might pull this up and cause it to have air bubbles, especially because it's such a tiny piece. But this transfer tape just lets it go. Maybe there's other transfer tape out there like this, but this one is amazing for layering. It's my secret weapon in layering. And the thing is, it costs the same as the transfer tape I was using before, which I really love too, but then I met this and I broke up with my old one and fell in love with this one. So I really hope this has helped make your layering vinyl easier, quicker, and less frustrating.